On this episode, what does the experience of a former child chess prodigy teach us about water-sensitive urban design? Hey everyone, and welcome back to Ideanthro. It's a Saturday morning, I've been doing some chores around the yard, and I've been listening to a book on my phone called The Art of Learning. Now it's by Josh Waitzkin. He is a former child chess prodigy, then turned learning expert slash Tai Chi push hands world champion. A bit of a, not a jack of all trades, but a success of many trades. In the book, in the audiobook, because it's a phone, right? In the audiobook, Josh makes a comment about the challenge he faced when he wrote his first book about chess. So he was a child prodigy, he became very good, he was touted. There's actually a movie called Searching for Bobby Fischer. He is the real life inspiration behind it because he was touted to be the next world champion, the next Bobby Fischer, star of chess. And he talks about how when he came to write his first book about chess, he had a real challenge with this because he had been for many, many years trying to seamlessly integrate all his knowledge. So when he started learning, or when anyone starts learning a new skill, you need to learn the fundamental basics of it, the fundamental building blocks, and slowly chunk it together. But the aim in the long term, when someone becomes expert at any task, is to make those fundamental building blocks really, really seamless so that you don't think about them. So the example Josh gives is that when, say, a violinist plays a virtuoso performance, they're not thinking about the individual notes. They are just subconsciously flowing that virtuoso performance out through their instrument. And so Josh had this really challenging experience whereby he'd been studying chess for many years, he'd internalized all of these fundamental skills, and then he came to try and write, ostensibly, a book for beginners, and he had to uninternalize all this stuff that he'd processed and go back and figure out actually what were the fundamental building blocks of this. And this got me thinking about water-sensitive urban design and a problem that I've been trying to face recently. Now, I'm not trying to suggest here that for this particular problem that I have the same deep level of understanding of this as Josh Waitzkin did of chess. It's clearly not in the same ballpark. But there is a fundamental underlying truth here. So what is this? Something that I've been grappling with, and I know a bunch of other people have been grappling with recently, is how do we come to develop scoring systems to usefully rank the condition of water-sensitive urban design assets so that we can then go about prioritizing which assets to maintain. Because here's the thing, when you've spent a little bit of time around these assets, it's really actually quite obvious when you look at them to be able to go, okay, we've got these three assets and they're in these conditions, and if we do that to them, this is likely to happen. If we do that, then that's likely to happen. And it's quite easy just to look at them and go, you know what, we've only got limited money, that one's going to give the best bang for buck. But for ages and ages, I've been grappling with this. Okay, that worked one by one if I can go out there and look at them, and that's fine that I, can say for myself and make myself comfortable, that's right. But if we're going to, convince other people to do it, if we're going to do this in a strategic manner from an asset management point of view with hundreds of assets, we actually kind of need to be able to document that. Me just saying, yeah, that's right, doesn't really work. It works in the chess world because if you are right about that, you win the game. But in an asset management world, you kind of don't win. You just get an outcome. Like, there's no opponent in this. If you had to say, yeah, look, I made the right decision because they lost. So this presents a problem. We actually need to, in water-sensitive urban design, in asset management like this, to be able to go through the process that Josh went through when he wrote his book of going, okay, I've internalized how all this fits together and can look at an asset and say what's right. But how do I break it back down into its individual pieces? And I've been really struggling with this. I've seen people make various attempts of ranking, condition assessments. Let's get all the different attributes of bioretention systems. We'll give them a score from 1 to 5, and then we're going to add those up. And the reality is they're all completely unsatisfying for me because they don't give the same result that I intuitively would want to pick. And so what I realized from Josh describing in his book the challenge he had writing his first chess book, is that fundamentally I'm going through the same process. I'm having trouble breaking down okay, what are the implicit assumptions, the implicit thoughts that are going through when I look at an asset? What am I implicitly assessing or doing or putting together to make the decision of, this is the logical thing to do next, and this asset is a higher priority than that asset? And that's the challenge here. It's really easy for us to create a scoring system that gives us a result of which asset to look after. It's really hard to create a scoring system that actually accurately reflects our internal workings of what we know to be true, what we know to be right about these assets. And that's the thought. I'm going to leave you with that. How can we... No, actually, I'm not going to leave you with that, because I would suggest that... actually, I'd really recommend this book. So the book is The Art of Learning by Josh Waitzkin. It's a really nice dive into how a man who is very, very good at learning new skills goes about doing that in a very contemplative and meditative manner. So my thought here is, okay, how can we ostensibly meditate on, or if you don't like that terminology, think deeply and perhaps peacefully and mindfully about the problem here of WSUD condition assessments? And let's not try and rush to the first way to put a score on an asset. Let's try and think about really deeply, how can we replicate what's going on inside our minds in the same way that Josh sat down and went, I've internalized all these processes, but I need to break it back down and figure out the fundamental building blocks of what I'm doing. Let's take a deep breath about condition assessments in water sensitive urban design. Let's take a deep breath and think, okay, what are all the implicit assumptions I'm making when I look at an asset, and how can we codify that into a condition assessment process? And you know what? That might not look like the condition assessment processes we've used previously for grey assets, because WSUD assets are green in a lot of cases, and that makes them fundamentally different, so they might just need fundamentally different processes. Sweet, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.